All right, so as I said, we want to talk about expanding the capabilities of these Arduino Megas by using peripheral devices and specifically by using shields. So you can basically increase your capabilities by adding additional boards, which are called shields, and that is just a term that is specific to Arduino. To the microcontroller. And in fact, you can go on websites. There's manufacturers that build shields for specific purposes. SparkFun and Adafruit being the two most common. And also they can be used basically so you can do some prototyping on a shield before you get a PCB built, so you can do some testing before you've, in theory, paid for the manufacturer of a PCB. And, you know, if you are designing your own shield, your own PCB, and you're going to use it with the Arduino Mega board, it would then most likely you would want to use the shield form factor so that you could just stack it on top. So one of the big things is just buying a shield that is ready built to serve a specific purpose. There's no reason to go engineer a completely new device when you can, you know, buy one for $15 and have it shipped to you from Amazon. So using a pre-made shield will greatly simplify your project, basically because it comes already assembled. It will be designed to serve a specific purpose. The soldering will already be done mostly, so you usually can just plug it into the board. But so basically you have to look at the shield that you're trying to buy, verify that it meets your requirements, because it is going to be difficult to modify. And you'll do this by reading the manufacturer's documentation and verifying that it meets your needs. The one specifically that we're going to be using in this course is the Adafruit Ultimate GPS Logger Shield. That's their name for it. And it's called a data logger basically because it has a storage capacity built into it, and it has a way to get data. So it has a GPS and an SD storage. But there's nothing that prevents you from storing other data on the SD card. Yeah. So the way that it works is you just pop it on top of the Mega, and then it's connected, and you can then you'll be able to read GPS information off of it and write to the SD card, so be able to use it for data logging. Proto shields are used for prototyping. They are basically breadboard-like devices that have the leads for just popping it onto the shield header pins. So that it will basically just be a bunch of holes. That's why it's called perf board. And hopefully you get one. I would recommend getting one that has traces connected similar to your breadboard, but you may also see one that is basically just a bunch of individual holes that are not connected to each other, and so you would basically need to solder leads from hole to hole. So that's nice for basically being able to add a custom circuit to your Arduino stack without having to pay for or design your own printed circuit board. But it's going to be a lot larger than what you would be able to do on a PCB, and it's going to be definitely be messier because you're having to hand solder and put little wire leads everywhere. So this is just an example of a specific type of shield. So you see it has the header pins here that you would solder into it. That will connect it to the rest of the Mega. So it would, once you do that, it just connects through these pins. You stack it on top, and a key thing you want to do is use this particular type of pin that goes through and has the connection on top. That way you can continue to stack more pieces of more shields on top of it if you need to. That's also how the GPS shield data logger that you're going to use works. But you can see basically there's some rows that are connected. There's some individual holes, and there's sort of this little limited area that has the sort of standardized footprint for the through-hole chips. So what you would do is basically build your circuit on here and then test it, and then you could add it to your, basically stack it on top of your Arduino. One thing that you could potentially do is basically using circuit design software, get a PCB manufactured. So you would lay out your circuit on the PCB. You would send it off to a PCB manufacturer, and they would basically print out and cut the boards and send them to you. This can be very nice if you have something that's complex or large. It allows you to shrink it down. But it means that you have to have somebody who knows how to use PCB design software, and also, depending on your budget and time constraints, getting a PCB made may not be a viable solution. The Megasat is actually a custom shield that was designed by people here at LSU. So it's the same sort of thing where it has a standardized footprint, so you can stack it on top of the Arduino and then stack multiple other devices to it. And the idea with it is it's basically to give everyone sort of a baseline learning platform for their payload. So something else you can use that isn't quite a full shield is what's called a breakout board. This is basically used when you have a very small chip, often surface mounted, that you want to do prototyping with, whether that's on a breadboard or some other kind of circuit. So basically, they're boards that you buy that have the small chip mounted on them, and then there's little larger external connections for you to be able to connect to. And again, these are usually designed with a specific purpose in mind. They're sort of, it does this one thing, and obviously you have to properly connect your circuit to it to use them. So actually, one of the components that you're going to use on the Megasat shield is a breakout board. The accelerometer and gyroscope comes on this little breakout board. So in fact, this little chip here is itself the accelerometer and gyroscope, but that chip is tiny, and you can see the very small surface mount pins. So in order to basically be able to use that without a custom designed PCB, you're going to you need one of these breakout boards that has these connections to all the various pins on there. So the way that it comes is basically with all of these small components soldered on board, and with sort of a standardized footprint. So these holes are actually spaced at the same spacing as the breadboard. So you can ideally add it to either a custom PCB or use it in a breadboard prototyping situation. Or also you could have leads that go directly from here into your Arduino header pins. So depending on what you guys decide to try and do with your payloads in the spring, you're probably going to need to, have some sort of expansion, at least a proto board. But there's a good chance that at least part of your circuits might have a pre-built shield or breakout board solution so that you can just use that. Obviously, you need to do some planning and research before you buy those and make sure whatever you're getting is compatible. In particular, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of Arduinos with slightly different footprints. So if you just buy something that says that it works with an Arduino, it may not work with the Mega. It may be designed to use with the Uno or one or the other boards.